had clients at the time, but I wasn't growing as quickly as I wanted to be. And eventually I actually lost quite a bit of confidence in myself. And finally a friend said, stop trying to figure out your business and figure out who you are instead. And so then with that advice, I invested in myself instead of my business, which felt scary. I was like, oh, but it was really the best investment that I made. And it was exactly what I needed to do.
Hey, my feel good friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social podcast. I am your host, Kinsey, and man, do I have a special guest for you today. We are chatting with Tani Morgan, who happens to be my mindset coach. I've been working with Tani for, probably 2.5 years now. And I swear she has done so much to help me through the big limiting beliefs that are holding me back in my business and personal life, right? The things in my personal life that had been dragging me down and just being that kind of elephant in the room for me and not allowing me to show up online as my true authentic self for Feel Good Social. But also she seriously helps me with the day-to-day stuff in my business when it comes to making hard decisions or having hard conversations that I don't want to have, or kind of freaking out or being triggered by something that happened or something someone said to me or whatever, right? Maybe I sound a little bit high maintenance right now, and you know what? My mindset probably is, but it's so helpful to have a coach like Tani in my corner. And I am super stoked to share this conversation with you today. We chat about a lot of those common issues that a lot of us struggle with when it comes to showing up in our business and how you can overcome them. This is actually Tani's second time being on the show. If you enjoy this conversation, you want to go back and listen to our first interview with her. It's episode 47. But I do got to say, if you enjoy our conversation, my friend, I would love for you to share it to your Instagram stories and make sure that you tag me. I'm at Feel Good Social and Tani is at Tani_Morgan. If you tag both of us, we will definitely reshare it. We will give you a follow and we will just spread some love right back to you in the DMs, my friend. Okay, without further ado, let's dive right into this awesome conversation with this wonderful woman. Hey friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I'm here to help you market your business in a genuine way that works without wasting your precious time. On this show, we chat about social media strategy and mindset tips with a focus on, you guessed it, feeling good. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some genuine conversation for the good of your biz. Real quick, have I invited you to join the Feel Good Social Club yet? Oh man, my friend, I would love for you to check out our new monthly membership for down-to-earth entrepreneurs who are ready to create content with ease, actually show up and strategically market your business online every month, and also make friends with rad down-to-earth entrepreneurs who are just like you, who get it, who are in the posting trenches with you, and who are ever ready to give you a friendly air high five or kick in the accountability booty whenever you need it. The Feel Good Social Club is where it is at. Check it out, feelgoodsocial.com/club. In the club, we have a content library full of Canva templates and tutorials and resources to help you make content creation as easy as possible. We also have monthly content planning workshops where we all come together and talk about the upcoming month's strategy for our content. And we also have community forums where you can get together, ask questions of other club members, brainstorm ideas, ask for feedback. So definitely check it out, feelgoodsocial.com/club. Our Feel Good members are seriously some of the most amazing people that I have ever met. And I would love for you to join us, feelgoodsocial.com/club. Check it out. Join today. We would love to see you in there, my friend. All right, let's dive back into today's episode. Hi, Tani. Thank you so much for coming on the Feel Good Social podcast again. I'm so excited to have you on the show, lady.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I know we're going to have a fabulous conversation today. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, we always do. We always do. So I did introduce you just a little bit in the intro, and I've talked about you on the show before as my mindset coach. You've been on the show before, episode 47, guys, if you want to go back and give it a listen. But for those people who haven't heard your first episode or anything like that, can you tell us a little bit? Who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm Tani Morgan and I'm a business mindset coach. So what that means is that I help entrepreneurs who are actually really good at what they do, but they're struggling to meet their business goals, their income goals, and to get to that next level that they're really hoping to get to. And I help them really love themselves, come back to themselves, and create a rock solid success mindset so that your business feels easier and it's more enjoyable and it calls in the consistent clients so that you can reach that business goal or your next income level.
Yes. And I'm over here raising my hand because that's exactly what you've helped me to do. Seriously, it's so funny. I think that when we started working together, I was like just going into I think year 2 of business or something like that. And so it's kind of funny. I don't really have a lot to compare when it comes to like the before Tani and the after Tani but like, I could just feel that you've helped me so much. Like I would not be where I am today. I still have a lot of work to do for sure, but like just feeling more comfortable and confident in my own skin, showing up online, all those things. So I can't wait to talk to you, especially about online confidence is what we're going to start talking about, guys. But can you just give us a little bit of insight? I always like to ask people about how they started their business journey and all that stuff. What did yours look like?
Yeah, it was 2015, and I'd actually been running a daycare business from my home, and it wasn't lighting me up anymore. I was feeling really drained and exhausted and just blah. And I actually woke up one morning and realized, had the thought like, I don't want to get up. I just want to stay in bed. And I was like, oh, that's not a good idea. And so no, that's not a good feeling. And I'd kind of realized that I'd been having that thought, multiple times. And so I knew I needed to make a change, but I didn't really know how. But of course, the universe, as it does, it provided a catalyst for me to change. And very shortly after I had that wake up realization in the morning, 2 of my day home families gave me notice that they weren't going to return. And I was actually sitting out on the back deck with my husband and I was crying because these are little humans that I had been raising, for over a year, and they were really part of my heart. And so I was just grieving, them, that they were going to be leaving my care. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he said, you're going to find new families. And as he said that, and as I thought about it, I felt this full body no, like my whole body was just like, no. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess apparently I'm not doing that. I need to find something different. Mm-hmm. And so I still didn't really know what, but I started tuning into my intuition. I started following, what it was telling me to do. And it eventually led me to what was previously completely unknown to me, this unknown world of the online coaching. Mm-hmm. And then even before I had told anyone that I was even considering maybe that would be something that I could do, the universe actually sent me, again, a message through an acquaintance of mine who reached out and asked me if I could help her grow her business online. And I was like, okay, I looked up at the sky and was like, I hear you. And I took her on as a client and was actually able to help her grow her business by 40% in the very first month that we worked together. And that's how it started, I guess, really, because I was like, okay, I'm just going to follow the signs from the universe. But as I began to grow it, I did hire a strategy coach and she was great. You know her, right? And, but I realized it was much harder than all of these Facebook ads that I had seen saying that, you'd be able to make whatever 6 figures in 6 weeks. And I realized it was a lot harder than that. And I struggled with choosing a niche, and I struggled with sticking to, or even being able to explain what I do or how I do it. And I felt stuck and I didn't really feel good enough a lot of the times. I knew what strategies I should be implementing, but I was really struggling to do it. And now I'm looking back, I know that it was my mindset getting in the way. Mm-hmm. And I know that those struggles now, looking back, like at the time, it was not fun to go through any of that struggles, that emotional turmoil that I was in. But now I understand that it was actually necessary so that I could really fully understand my clients and help them today. Mm-hmm. So I had clients at the time and I was signing them, or I was helping them, but it wasn't growing as quickly as I wanted to be. And eventually I actually lost quite a bit of confidence in myself. And finally a friend said, stop trying to figure out your business and figure out who you are instead.
Mm-hmm.
And so then with that advice, I invested in myself instead of my business, which felt scary. I was like, oh, but it was really the best investment that I made. And it was exactly what I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it helped me understand who I am, what my purpose is here on earth, and how to really help my clients. And it ends up being that I'd been on the right path, but I didn't have the confidence in it. And so that made it so much harder for me to show up online. And so then when I could actually understand, you know what, you are here to help people change the way they think about themselves, about the world, about business. You know, you're here to help them really truly understand who they are and to see their own value and worth so that they can feel confident. Then it was a lot easier for me to start showing up in line with, you know, passion and excitement and sign the clients.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I can geek out about so many things, and I'm going to, because firstly, I love a good origin story where it's like, I found this thing, this is my epiphany. And then I realized that this is like how it clicks into my business. And now I help people do the same. And I love when people are like, because it's an emotional thing, right? Then when you fully go through the experience that like now you help your clients like through as well, it's so just like, I think just more like not passionate, but like, just you feel it more deeply, so I love that. Also, totally feel you there, because exactly like that's what happened with me with Feel Good Social too. And with your help. And I know we've chatted about the phrase, come home to yourself. Before we think it's a little corny. Well, I don't think it might be. I do. I'm a corn dog, you guys, so it's fine. But like that's what it feels like, right? Like whenever I personally am like frickin' in the middle of things and like freaking out or like having anxiety or feeling a little more depressed even or anything like that, like whenever I can have you or someone like bring me home to myself and remind me of like who I truly am, my values, all that different stuff. Like, I just feels like a breath of fresh air. And I was laughing too, because I just went through that kind of with Feel Good Social this week, you guys. I was having one of those freak out moments where I was like, the algorithm is changing. Like I see all these social media managers online doing reels transitions and all these different things. And I'm like, what does this mean? I felt like so just like spinning kind of thing. And both you and Michelle brought me home to Feel Good Social, right? I think that's how it relates to your business. Cause like, that's what it felt like you guys reminding me like, no, kids, you are who you are. This is what Feel Good Social is. So how can you approach like the new things happening on Instagram and all that stuff from Feel Good Social? So it felt like coming home to my business too. So I just had to tell you that, lady.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah. I think that when we are, feeling at home with ourselves, that we're really feeling, we're trusting ourselves and we can hear our own inner voice, then we can show up for our business so much better. Right. Mm-hmm. And business feels easier when we are being ourselves instead of we're worrying about what other people think, or we're worrying about trying to show up in a certain way, whether it's professional or, that's what I remember you talking about that at the beginning of us working together, is like, you really thought you needed to be someone else to show up online. And I think that's something that's really common. And for me, I don't know if it was that I thought I needed to be someone else, but I didn't really know who I was. So how would I even show up as who I am? Mm-hmm. Right. And so then even subconsciously, it was like, well, I see them showing up that way, so that's how I need to show up, right? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't a conscious thought if I needed to be a certain way. It was just like, well, that's what they're doing, so I guess that's what I need to do. And I didn't know who I really was or what my gifts were or how I could truly help.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Completely. That exactly. Like you see, it's hard. It is truly hard. Like it's easy to hear, it's easy to hear people say, just be authentic, show up as you, create a business that like works for you and is a reflection of you and all this different stuff. But then we are very influenced people, you know what I mean? And so it's not, you can't just like show up online and like not be influenced by the ads that are like, oh my gosh, I think we had this conversation the other day, 100K in 1 month or something. And it's like, oh my God. And you can't be influenced by that. And here's the issue. And this is what can you tell I'm getting fired up? Because this is what social media does for us, like we all do want to show up online as our shiniest selves. Some people do want to show up online and kind of over promise or like maybe inflate their promises a little bit and stuff like that. But like, especially as new business owners, we're all just seeing that and being and accepting it, and it takes a while to realize, oh, wait, like this, it's better if I can like turn off all that noise, come back to myself. And I think you were super, super helpful in the process, like having a mindset coach, having someone objective to like mirror things back to you, to like, bring you back to reality when all of a sudden you're chasing those shiny objects and stuff like that,
Well, and I think what you said at the beginning of this little piece is like we're not taught to understand who we are. We don't go to school and they'd be like, ooh, who are you? Mm-hmm. What do you love? What are you excited about? It's not something we are taught, right? Mm-hmm. So it makes sense that we get in here and we're being influenced. Plus there's influence from everyone the whole time we're growing up on who you should be, how you should behave, how you should show up in any certain moment, and so there are all these external forces. And so what happens is so much of the time, and it feels like it's even more with women than men, but maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just that that's who I work with. But for women, for sure, we, in a sense, give that power away. We start to believe the external forces and we forget to go back to our inner voice. And that inner voice is incredibly powerful. I see it as our soul, and our soul knows our way. Our soul knows our journey. So when we can really tune in, and I think that's what I call coming home to yourself is when you're tuning in to say, what's real for me? Who am I? What's my next best step? And then you can trust that inner voice and feel confident in that inner voice.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I have to share this real quick too. And I haven't even told you yet, but so one of my clients decided not to continue with me last night. And it was one that, I've had a few issues with over the past. So it really wasn't like too sad of a loss necessarily. However, and it was super cordial too. They're like, we've really enjoyed the experience. You just, we've decided to bring it in-house, which makes sense sometimes, but it was one of those experiences where I was like, well, okay, so this is so funny because like I was channeling my inner Tani and I was like, I saw the email and immediately I was like, oh, thank goodness. Like not out loud though, right? Like that was the feeling in my body. Yeah. And then, but I noticed it, right? And that was the important part because I noticed that I felt that way. And then of course, the snowball of like scarcity thoughts and just like, did I do something wrong? And all those like kind of things like start the mind, the ego thoughts start popping in my head. And I was like, no, Kins, you were like, oh, heck yeah. And then later too, and I was laughing too when you were sharing about how your husband was like, you're going to find more families. Like, God bless him. Because Brett was like, he came home and I told him and he was like, no, babe, like, it's okay. Email him back. Tell him that like, this is going to like, you've really enjoyed working him with, and like, he like was coming up with an action plan to like help me, and I was like, no, babe. And he's got like tail between his legs and he's like, but fine. I was just trying to help. And I was like, no, I so appreciate like the thought. And like for a different client, like that's such a great idea, but for this one, my inner self was like, I'm good. And so it was just one of those learning experiences for me. So I had to share it with you.
Well, and it's a perfect example of how our soul speaks first. And then the ego mind does jump in afterwards with a laundry list of fears and reasons why, oh my gosh, something's wrong with me, like you said, or what not, right? It jumps in. And so that's a great, I think, for our listeners, if you're wondering, like, how do I trust myself? How do I listen to that inner voice? That's one of the first things is you'll notice it's kind of just a feeling, or it's maybe not even a thought. And it's the first thing that shows up and you're just like, oh, and if you don't, like, sometimes like that can be something that you need to work on a little bit too. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you're feeling like, oh, I don't know if I can even distinguish between that first little voice and then the second laundry list voice, just know that it takes a little bit of practice and it comes with time. And I'm super proud of you of being able to recognize that, you know what I mean? Because when we first started working together, you wouldn't have, I don't think you would have went right into the ego mind and you would have been like, blah, 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 blah. And then maybe when we talked, I would have been like, well, what was your first sense? Or, you know what I mean? Is there any piece of relief there or something? Right. So your awareness is really improved.
Yeah. Thanks, lady. Well, also too, I think a lot of like those limiting beliefs are so ingrained with us in the beginning, right? And also like my ego voice is so freaking loud, and so I can talk myself into like a snowball of anxiety anytime, and also too, I think that when we first started working together, especially where I was at my business, and then with all the work we've now done through limiting beliefs, scarcity mindset, stuff like that, like my immediate reaction, because it like the scarcity stuff was so ingrained, it would have been like, oh my gosh, income loss. And instead I was like, thank God I have more breathing room. So I don't know. Exactly. I think that like a lot, like there's so much that goes with mindset work. And it's so funny. We've talked about this before. It's so hard to, well, one, understand maybe when you need mindset work, two, invest in mindset work, right? And then three, like almost measure the results from mindset work, because it's just like it goes into every aspect of your life and it's like a transition over time and stuff like that. So I don't know. I know we've talked about this a little bit before off podcast recording, but for people who are like, okay, I've started my business, like I'm ready to invest in help, but I don't know if I should maybe go for more of a mindset coach, or should I go for more of like the strategic business coach for my next hire? Like, how can people tell like who they need to hire next?
Well, it's really important. We've talked about that both you need to have the strategy and you need to have mindset, right? But here's the thing. If you have worked with a business coach or you've done a course and you know the step-by-steps and you're not being able to do those step-by-steps, then mindset work is definitely something that you're going to you are going to want to invest in. Mm-hmm. So that would be one. The other thing is that maybe you are doing the step-by-steps and you're really good at putting those business pieces in place. Like you were, you know what I mean? Like you were like, I've got my brand, I've got my opt-in, I've got all my pieces, right? But business was feeling really hard, right? It's feeling really hard, or maybe you feel really uncomfortable showing up online, or you're just not enjoying it anymore. Then definitely I would want to have a conversation with you and see if that's something that we could do, or something I could support you with, you know what I mean? Or talk about if that's mindset. Something that a lot of clients, not all of them, but a lot of clients that I do work with, in their mind, they know that I had a little bit of a tough childhood, or I had something kind of big happen that kind of took me off my game for a little bit. And I didn't really deal with that all that well. Or I had really highly critical parents, or my, growing up. If you feel like there's like, I'm not good enough, that's a sure sign that mindset work is going to help you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, and we have like, that was a reason that I came to you too, because I had like a big extreme event happen in my life, like 4 years before starting my business. And I was able to like manage through life up until starting the business, but then like showing up more online and feeling more visible, not feeling like I could hide anymore, really. The higher stress level I was feeling now, like with the business added on to the stress level I was feeling and working through my personal life. Like, it's one of those things that I think too, maybe sometimes, exactly like you said, in childhood or events that have happened, quite a long time ago, but then you start a business and it's not, and it comes back up again just because there's so much more going on, so like, that's something to think about too. I feel like sometimes people are like, I don't know why this is so hard. Or like they think of like an event in their childhood and they're like, but like, this hasn't been an issue until now. Like, why do I need to work through this now? But entrepreneurship is hard, guys.
Well, entrepreneurship is hard, but also the majority of the time, you are the business. You need to be the face of the business. You need to be the brand, right? You're a huge portion of the brand. You're the face of the brand. And so if there's any little subconscious thoughts in the back of your mind saying, you're not good enough, that's not safe, you're not safe, then you're trying to, it's almost like that's baggage, and you're trying to like walk your journey while dragging a big backpack full of limiting beliefs. Right?
Yeah. I think that you've used the analogy of like, there's like a big barn of like shit in the backyard or something. And you're like trying to build this beautiful house in the front yard and like bring guests in and stuff. But like the shit still stinks, like, or something like that. But it's so true. Like, do you think that, that's kind of what sets you apart as a mindset coach somewhat? Because maybe And, full, disclosure, I've not really worked with other mindset coaches, friends with mindset coaches, love them. But, maybe most business mindset coaches focus on like the business stuff, but it's just so integrated into your entire life and even your past wounds, and you really like to go back with your clients like that.
Yeah, in my experience, that a lot of other mindset coaches are focusing on reframing kind of in the moment, and inspiring and encouraging, like helping them believe in the moment that, yeah, you can really do this. And so you can leave the call with a coach like that and be like, okay, I'm really excited. And maybe it gets you over this little hump or this fear to get something done. But down the road, the next time you're going to try to do something, or, you know what I mean? You don't necessarily have the tools and techniques to be able to move through it again on your own. And you have those wounds still from the past. And so for me, I want to go deep. We're going to focus first on where do you want to go? Let's move in that direction. But if I see patterns keep showing up, or you're like, I'm trying to go there and I can't go there, then we'll go deeper. Then we'll go backwards and be like, okay, well, what happened to make you believe such a thing, you know what I mean, that you're not good enough, or that it's scary to put yourself out there. Let's heal that. And so that you permanently feel better about it. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to explain. You permanently have more energy. It's not like, it's like you're taking the limiting beliefs out of the backpack instead of just having somebody carry it along with you for a little while.
Yeah. I like that analogy. I love it. Okay, wait, let's
take the bricks out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to help you.
I love, like, I'm like imagining now, like envisioning in my head. I love that. Do you know what your brand vibe is on Instagram? I have a new fun quiz that's just for you, my friend. I, of all people, know how hard it is to figure out how the heck you're supposed to translate your brand to the gram. And with this quick 7-question quiz, we will help you hone in on your brand's personality, voice, and visuals so that you can show up consistently and create content that looks beautiful and feels on brand for you. This quiz is so awesome. It's been a long time coming, and I know that you're going to have a lot of fun with it. Plus, the results will help you show up in the best way for you. If you'd like to check out our new brand vibe quiz, just head to feelgoodsocial.com/quiz. Pretty easy. Head to feelgoodsocial.com/quiz to find out what your brand's vibe is on social media and start showing up there for your brand. Okay, let's talk about online confidence, because this is something that you help a lot of your clients with. A lot of people struggle with. I myself, I sent you, this was like a month or two ago, but I sent you one of my first Instagram live videos where I was like talking about getting my first bad review on the podcast. And I was like meek. I was like hiding behind the puppy dog filter. And now I just like show up on Instagram live, like whatever, no makeup, all that stuff. So tell us a little bit about how you help people with the online confidence thing.
I like to hit it from all angles. So I'll start with some simple techniques like, standing in Wonder Woman position, right? Which changes your hormones. It brings more testosterone. And so testosterone into your body, and it's scientifically proven that you will feel more confident after, or within 2 minutes of doing that. So that's something very simple that people could start doing right away, as well as praising yourself. We all want to hear praise from other people, but we can't control what anyone else does. We talk to ourselves more than we talk to anyone else. So that's why it's really important to make sure that we're praising ourselves and that we're not living with an inner critic roommate in our head, right? We want to, we would kick that inner critic to the curb if it was our roommate, but we seem to allow it when it's our own brain telling us these things. So we want to catch the negative thoughts and start transforming them. But then again, these are some more surface level things that we can do and we can start using right away. But if that's not enough, then we need to go deeper. We need to get to the root of the cause. We need to find out what's really holding you back, what's really making you feel like you're not good enough, or that your mission isn't important enough, or your purpose isn't big enough. You know what I mean? What are these things? What are the beliefs that are really holding you back? And then reprogram those beliefs. And in my experience, reprogramming the beliefs takes a little bit of time. But then once you do, then it's a much more lasting transformation.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. I was telling someone the other day about like getting big, stepping into like your powerful woman like position. And they were kind of laughing at me. And I was like, it works. Try it out. And I also, I shared with one of my friends the other day what we were talking about during our last call. I think, like making up a positive story in your head. Right. And I feel like this is so applied to social media in so many ways, like showing up online for your business. Cause I mean, I still find myself posting and being like, okay, like refresh, like who's good, like when am I gonna get my first like, or like, oh my gosh, people hate me, or like all the dumb voices come out in your head, you know what I mean? And so I loved what you shared with me the other day about, okay, where like that you're making up negative stories in your head that probably aren't real. But what you can do instead is make up a positive story in your head and just force yourself to believe that. And I swear to God, that works too.
Well, I think a lot of the time you can just say that I don't even know if you have to force yourself to believe it, but just say it's a possibility. Mm-hmm. It's a possibility. Anything's possible. It's possible that somebody has been waiting, that's struggling and not sure what to do and waiting for this post that you wrote. Maybe someone's waiting to hear that, oh my gosh, this content strategy or whatever, content manager, the content manager, she still has thoughts of like, oh my gosh, is somebody going to like my post? Like maybe she's just waiting to hear that. And hearing that one piece is going to be like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. If she still feels that way, then it's normal. And I can feel that way too. Right. Mm-hmm. Really looking at creating a story that we're being selfish by not sharing what we know, because there's other people out there suffering that we could help. And by not sharing it, we're focusing on ourselves and we're being selfish because we are holding back due to our own fear. Whereas if we put ourselves out there and we share our truth honestly and vulnerably, it helps people. Stories help people so much, right? Mm-hmm. And I love it. Like, you're a storyteller, that stories make such a big difference. We can relate to people. We don't feel alone. We can understand new concepts, all sorts of things like that. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. And with social media too, it's the difference between stepping outside of the ego too, right? Because what works for me too is exactly what you just kind of like gave an example of, like stopping the focus on the big number, like on the crowd, and focus on like the individual person that you can help, right? Like that always, I feel like something in the universe. Also, guys, like on social media, people aren't very forthcoming with exactly what's going through their head, right? So like, just because you're not getting comments and not getting a lot of likes doesn't mean that you're not impacting people. I get this all the time with Instagram, with the podcast, because the podcast is kind of hard. Sometimes you're not like connected via a message or anything like that. So I'm like, no, I'm not getting enough likes, or is anyone listening? And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I'll get an awesome message by like the one person who actually took the time to like reach out and tell me, oh, this post was hilarious, or oh, that episode was awesome. But like normal people don't do that, like most of the time people think that in their heads, and you are impacting people. You're just not hearing from them. And that's okay. You just like need to remind yourself of it,
That's such a good point. I'm so glad you brought it up. And especially at the beginning of my business, honestly, so I've let go a lot. Like I just post and I'm like, let it be. And if people hate it, I don't care. That's my self-expression. Right. So I've really let go of that a lot. But when I first started, that would happen. I would be like, did anybody see it? Nobody really commented. Or even if someone did comment on it, a week later, somebody would be like, oh, just like that video you were talking about. And I would look at them and I'd be like, oh, they didn't like it. They didn't comment on it. I have no idea that they would have seen it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that happened multiple times early on in my business. And so then I started to like let go a little bit around the worry of, are people seeing it or not? It's still there from time to time, but I just recognized as like, oh, people see it. People are watching and they won't post. Like, it's like their own fear of liking something or commenting on social media is preventing them, because then they would tell me in real person. And I would be like, if you hadn't told me, I would have had no idea that you'd even seen it.
Yeah, that happens all the time. And it's so funny because like, I find myself doing that too. I try my best like to
engage.
do that, and be intentional about my engagement and stuff like that. But at the same time, like my natural tendency is just to like scroll and like, crack up, be like, Brett, come over here, watch this. But then I don't like the video. I don't comment or anything like that, and it's just like, people don't think about it. Right. So exactly. Just like making up that story that's like, well, like someone out there today needed to hear this. And if it's just one person, awesome, and like, and that's kind of what I want to like encourage people to shift their mind around when it comes to like success and results on Instagram, right? Like, I wish that we could make results more about the human to human impact, the nurturing of your following, instead of, especially even with the reels lately. So guys, I was freaking out about reels with Tani the other day because this has always bothered me, right? Is like, everyone is obsessed with like the visibility reels gets, and I'm doing this 30-day challenge right now. And what I'm realizing is some of my reels do get higher views or whatever like that. I've gained a few new followers for sure, but like literally they're all, I've removed like half of them because they look like trolls or sexy flexy men who I don't necessarily need following me because they're not going to buy from me, But it's funny because a lot of times the reels that like really hit home with my ideal customers who they like a lot, they comment on them a lot, it like connects with them. They like laugh, and it actually drives that genuine connection where it's like, okay, Kins is one of my good friends, like those ones don't get as high of the views, but I prefer those more because that's what we need to make our success focus on,
Well, I think the other piece around success is, can we make it, yes, can we really connect with, even just one person, but can we make it a success for ourselves? Can we show up regularly? Can we show up and not let creating a reel and the views not being as high as we think take us out? Can we show up, consistently, whatever that means for you, which we've also talked about, it does not necessarily need to be every day, right? Can you keep coming back to your business and bringing your best to your business, regardless of what the external forces are? Like, I think that's something that I really want to help my clients do, is like where we get to evaluate, that was the best reel ever. I love that reel. And if Instagram didn't show it out, who cares? I'm really proud of myself anyways, because I went out there and I was afraid and I put myself out there and, helped 3 people, loved it. And they messaged me and said, whatever, right? Like, let's validate our own success.
Yes. I'm over here geeking out, and I feel this hard because I've been trying to do 30 days of reels or whatever. And like, there's some of them where like the art, there's like this art filter, guys, that like has like lots of classical art pieces. And then it puts your mouth and eyes on the different art pieces. And I did this super dumb, like talking face, like a reel with like an office voiceover thing. But I was like, hesitating to post that because I was like, oh, this is pretty dorky. Like, I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's going to hit home, whatever, all the little voices. And then I was kind of like, Kins, you think this is hilarious. You have watched your own reel like 20 times before even posting it. I'm like, post it for you, girl. So I did. Guess what? It didn't perform like amazingly, but that's fine. And I like still go back and watch that. Like shared it with all my friends and stuff because it was for me, like sometimes you got to do you.
Yes. And I love how you're like, post it for me, because really, I think when you do that on a regular basis, like maybe that one didn't show up, but when you're posting for you on a regular basis and you're having an experience, because we are energetic beings, and the viewers, readers, listeners, whatever, the community feels that.
Yeah. I love it so much. I could like geek out mindset wise with you all day. But what do you have going on right now in the future? Like what's going on? How can people connect with you? That sort of thing.
Well, I've just put out a new free masterclass called Imposter No More. So imposter syndrome is, that ego voice that is telling you that you're not good enough, that you can't do this, that you don't, deserve any successes that you've had, that you're maybe lucky getting it, or people are going to find out that you're not as good as they think you are. And that's something that shows up for a lot of new entrepreneurs. So I just did a masterclass and now there's a recording available. So I'm really excited about that. Also, they can just find me on my website, TaniMorgan.com, or on Instagram, which is Tani @TaniMorgan, I think _Tani_Morgan. And on Facebook, So I'm excited about that. I do have a one-on-one spot available and working on some group programs, but there's nothing in being launched right now.
Yeah. And the masterclass is super good, guys, because I helped her create the slides.
They're gorgeous slides.
I was like, ooh, yes. Okay. I know that's why I love working with you too, as far as content, because I'm like, okay, learning at the same time as creating.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming on the Feel Good Social podcast. Once again, I so appreciate you.
It's totally my pleasure. I love you. I love the podcast. I'm super happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
How wonderful was Tani, you guys? She is seriously just like so great when it comes to me and my mindset and helping me through the day-to-day of my business. Feel Good Social would not be where it is today if it wasn't for her helping me along in the process. And so I know how valuable she is. I'm sure that you figured that out as well. So if so, make sure that you go check her out at Tani_Morgan on Instagram. Give her a follow. I know that she would love to connect with you over there, and share this episode if you enjoyed it, if you took something away from it, because we all have mindset struggles that we need to work through. And the sooner we can start tackling them and being aware of them, the sooner we will see that growth in our business that we really want to see, right? So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, my friend, and I will catch you next time I catch you. Thanks so much for listening, my friend. For show notes and a whole lot of other awesome freebies, visit feelgoodsocial.com. Simply go to feelgoodsocial.com for all the goods.